Warlock mains are by far the best Destiny players. They are the hardest working, best looking, and most selfless out of all the classes. Titans and Hunters just don't understand the truly tolling work it takes to be a Warlock. And that's why we're going to talk about the top 5 exotics all Warlocks need to be using. Reminder, just like every other list I make, this is not opinion based. This is strictly facts. So if you have any other exotic that you think is better than these 5, you are 100% wrong and are not allowed to have an opinion. Let's jump right into it. Number 5, Necrotic Grip. Ah yes, the old let's poison an entire group of people exotic. Its exotic perk, Grasp of the Devourer, makes your charged and uncharged melee apply a stacking poison to the enemy. Then when a poison target dies, they spread their poison to any and all enemies within a 5 meter radius. So with as little as one punch, you can poison an entire room of enemies and clear every single ad. And if you're running solar, you get a long range snipe melee to poison enemies from anywhere. But that's not all. This doesn't just apply to your melee despite what the perk says. It also applies to your weapons of sorrow, which are Thorn, Osteostrega, and Touch of Malice. So now each of these weapons can poison an entire room of enemies, no ifs, ands, or buts. With so many ways to poison so quickly, there's no reason not to use this if you have ads to worry about. Plus, who doesn't want more damage? It literally gives you a ticking poison that ticks every half second for 10 seconds with increased damage every tick. And in PvP, you can even see a fair bit of play with it. Sure, it might not deal the highest damage, but if you want to run it with one of the weapons I mentioned earlier, you get access to a long-range poison to track down your enemies and delay their health regen. The Necrotic Grips are a powerhouse when it comes to ad clear and are arguably the #1 ad clear for Warlocks. Let's talk about number 4. Number 4, Obsidian Aspect. I have recently been getting more and more into Warlock, and this exotic is actually a must-have. It passively increases your reload speed and handling of every single weapon by 35, and it also increases your airborne effectiveness. Sure, it sounds so simple and dumb, and it might be simple, but it damn sure isn't dumb. That increase on your reload and handling is absolutely massive in PvP. It makes swapping weapons nearly instant. I'm actually using these so often in PvP, I forgot that there's other exotics you can use in PvP. You'll find this exotic on nearly all Warlocks in PvP, especially in Trials. And that's even after losing its ability to boost your melee range. It was actually used by 38% of all Warlocks last time Trials was around. And 9.7% of all Guardians use these, making it the #1 exotic in Trials by 2 entire percent. Warlocks have exotics that allow you to poison, create explosions, and even spawn a ton of little baby exploding worms. But this one right here, yeah, the one that makes you switch weapons faster is the true meta. I really do think we need more exotics like this in Destiny. The simplicity is truly amazing and requires zero setup to be at its best. Oh my, I almost forgot to talk about PvE. While it is good in PvE, there really isn't a point. Other exotics are going to be so much better for so many other things, like ability regen and damage boosts. Number 3, Controversious Hold. What a weird exotic, am I right? The 3rd best Warlock exotic simply reduces incoming damage while charging your Void Grenade and grants grenade energy on hits. This is going to be one of the ones where you have to peel back the layers on a little bit. That 20% damage resistance is pretty nice for higher end content if you're already going to charge a grenade, but it's no lifesaver. This is the first exotic on the list that requires an actual build, but it really doesn't require much. Equip your Vortex Grenade, throw in Chaos Accelerant, which increases your size and linger duration of the Vortex, and honestly, that's all you need. There's a ton of other things that'll make this build absolutely bonkers and bananas, like Firepower or having a Hunter Discipline, Echo of Undermining for a debuff, but none of those are truly needed. That Vortex Grenade on full charge hits extremely hard. It will grant you 2000% grenade recharge for 1.75 seconds with a 4-second cooldown. And if you have an enemy that stays in that grenade for the entire 4 seconds, it procs again, granting you a total of a fuck ton of grenade energy. You can pretty much get infinite Vortex Grenades with this exotic and Chaos Accelerant. Speaking of Chaos Accelerant, it recently got a buff, so you can have 2 fragments instead of 1, making it a no-brainer. There will be some people who will pick Nezarec Sin over Controversious, but if you're playing in higher end content, getting constant kills can be so hard, so proccing grenade recharge from just a hit is so much better. And in PvP, it's pretty good. That insane recharge drops from 2000 to 1000, but just for hitting a grenade, that's not too bad at all. You can also shut down an entire zone with a single grenade, because it's literally the size of the objective and will last so long. Plus that damage resist will come in handy every now and again. All around an amazing exotic that deserves its bronze medal. Before we get into the top 2, we're going to go over 2 honorable mentions that were so close to making it to the real top 5 but barely got squeaked out. First we have Getaway Artist. There's a huge stan community for this exotic, and with the seasonal mods right now, it totally makes sense. In case you didn't know, Getaway Artist allows you to consume your Arc Grenade to spawn an Arc Soul for 20 seconds and also amplifies you. First off, Arc Souls are adorable. They're just your little best friend who sticks to your side and helps you kill people. Then while amplified, you get access to so many insane perks and abilities like Shock and Awe to get extra lightning damage on arc kills, and electric armor to gain damage resistance. So having the ability to get amplified without the need for a kill is absolutely amazing. This exotic functions very well in PvE and PvP, and I do think you need to check it out this season. If you're a huge fan of this exotic, please sound off below and tell people they need to use it right now. And the second honorable mention is transversive steps. It makes you run faster, slide further, and reload your gun after a second and a half. It is a very good exotic for getting shit done extremely quick in PvE and PvP. And that's all. Time for the silver medal. Number 2, Osmiomancy gloves. Are you surprised? Because I was at first, until you really start to think about it. Osmiomancy gives your Cold Snap Grenade an extra charge, making them seek further, and grants grenade energy upon hitting or freezing an enemy. This is another one of those exotics that requires a build to truly be amazing, but I promise you it's worth it. But first you have to remember, freezing can stun unstoppables, and slowing can stun overloads. So in my opinion, this exotic makes both of those even more possible. One of the builds you can run is equipping Bleak Watcher to become a turret creating machine. You can have up to 3 of these turrets and freeze and destroy any type of enemy. Or you can use this exotic with a regular old Cold Snap Grenade with Ice Flare bolts, and you'll just have constant freezes tracking from enemy to enemy. I don't think I've ever seen a Warlock use these in a GM, raid, or dungeon and do bad. They will constantly have adds and bosses frozen while also spreading the freeze. I think what's stopping a lot of people from using them is they think they need all the aspects and fragments to min-max them, when in reality, they're extremely good on their own. And don't get me started on PvP. This is the most annoying exotic to play against, hands down. If you woke up and you were just really pissed off and wanted to spread your anger, just equip Osmiomancy and go ruin people's day. What's more annoying than being frozen? What about getting frozen because you were standing beside your teammate and then they got frozen? Look, if you equip Ice Flare bolts and Osmio, I promise you'll get more hate messages than ever before. It earns a number 2 spot on the list because of how extremely strong it is in PvE and PvP. And for number 1, we have Sunbracers. They are being called Starfire's older brother after a recent nerf, and I think that's an understatement. There is no exotic that can do what Sunbracers can, regardless of class. Upon getting a powered melee kill, you get infinite solar grenades for 5 seconds. And that might sound like an exaggeration, but it is not. It gives you 20,000% more grenade energy recharge during that 5 seconds. I have seen some of the most insane clips of all time with these things, completely obliterating everything. Even in the background gameplay, you can see how extremely strong they are. On average, I'll have 3 grenades on the screen anytime I'm fighting anything. It doesn't have the boss melting potential pre-nerf Starfire had, but it still chucks out very consistent damage if you have an ad nearby for that melee kill. And speaking of ads, this is hands down the best possible ad clear exotic in the game without a question. You get to a point where you have so many grenades, you start sticking them to the ceiling so that your solar grenades start raining meteors from the sky. I have so much fun using these things and just flying around and absolutely obliterating any stupid little thrall that looks at me funny. And if you're looking for a build, there's a ton of Sunbracer builds out there that will all utilize a different aspect. So just use whatever fits your playstyle better. But my only complaint is that melee kill can be a pain in the sometimes. In lower end content, your melee one taps everything, so that's no big deal. But in something like a GM, you have to get them down to like 25% HP to guarantee that kill. So God forbid you miss it or don't kill them, because that will screw up your entire flow. But that is legitimately the only possible complaint I could have. I've said this time and time again, but I love grenades, and this is the ultimate grenade exotic. It is the best Warlock exotic in Destiny 2. All this data for this top 5 was gathered from community research, so I went ahead and started a Discord to help people find other people to play with and get even more responses from you guys. It'll be the first link in the description. See ya!